My sister-in-law unplugged my son's monitor. He flatlined before anyone knew. My name is Mia. I never imagined I'd become one of those mothers who knew every corner of St. Vincent's Children's Hospital by heart. But when your 8-year-old has a congenital heart defect, you don't get to choose the life you live anymore. My boy Trevor was connected to monitors around the clock, and every rhythmic beep, every glowing line on those screens, that was his lifeline, his proof that he was still here with me. Mom, can we watch the Avengers again? Trevor asked, his voice soft but bright despite the tangle of wires sprouting from his chest like vines. Of course, sweetheart. But you've already watched it, 50 times this week? It's epic every single time though. He flashed me that crooked grin of his, and my heart squeezed. That kid could find wonder in anything, even trapped in a hospital bed with tubes and monitors keeping him tethered to life. The door swung open and my sister-in-law Veronica walked in holding a Dunkin' coffee cup. Hey, thought you might need this. Thanks, Ronnie. You really didn't have to come by again. Please, what else do I have to do? Greg's stuck at the office until 10 anyway. She settled into the chair near the window, crossing her legs with a sigh. Besides, somebody needs to make sure you're actually taking care of yourself. I'm fine. Trevor's the one who matters right now. Still, Mia, you look absolutely wiped. When was the last time you went home? Had a real shower? I felt my shoulders tense. Yesterday. And I shower here. They have facilities for parents staying overnight. I'm just saying. Veronica shrugged, picking at her coffee lid. Maybe you're being a little excessive about all this. Excessive. I stared her. My son has a heart condition. How exactly am I being excessive? Veronica raised both hands defensively. Okay. Sorry. I'm just worried about you both, that's all. Trevor glanced between us, clearly picking up on the tension crackling in the air. Aunt Ronnie, do you want to watch the Avengers with us? Sure, kiddo, she said, but her smile looked strained, like she was forcing it into place. The next hour crawled by in uncomfortable silence, broken only by Trevor's giggles at the action scenes. Around 8 o'clock, my phone buzzed with a reminder. I glanced at the time and sighed. I need to run down to the cafeteria before it closes, I told them. Ronnie, can you stay with Trevor for 10 minutes? Of course. Take your time. I paused at the door, a strange unease prickling at the back of my neck. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't figure out what. The monitors, I know, Mia. I've been here a million times. I know not to touch anything. Go. I hurried down to the cafeteria, grabbed a roast beef sandwich and a bottle of water, and was heading back toward the elevators when I ran into Trevor's primary nurse, Clara. Mia, what are you doing down here? I was just about to page you. My stomach dropped like a stone. What? What's wrong? Trevor's monitor. There's no signal. We just noticed. Where I didn't wait for her to finish. I ran. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe as I sprinted down the hallway. The fluorescent lights blurred overhead. Parents and visitors stepped aside as I flew past them, my sneakers squeaking against the polished linoleum. When I burst through Trevor's door, Veronica was standing near the window, staring at her phone. The monitor screen beside Trevor's bed was completely black. Silent. No beeping. No lines. Nothing. Veronica, where's the alarm? Why didn't it? Clara shoved past me, rushing to Trevor's bedside. She pressed 2 fingers against his neck, then his wrist. Her face went pale. His lips, I choked on the words. Trevor's lips had a bluish tinge to them, like frost creeping across glass. Code blue. Clara's voice rang out sharp and loud. I need a crash cart in here now. What's happening? Veronica's voice shot up, shrill and panicked. I didn't hear anything. The monitor was fine when... Another nurse barreled into the room with a cart loaded with equipment. A doctor I didn't recognize started barking orders in rapid-fire medical jargon. Then they were doing chest compressions on my baby. On my 8-year-old son. His small body jerked with each push against his sternum. Get her out, someone shouted, and another nurse grabbed my shoulders. No, that's my son. Trevor. I tried to fight her off, clawing at her arms, but she held firm. Let them work, Mia. You need to let them work. Veronica stumbled out after me, her face drained of all color. I don't understand. I was just sitting there. I wasn't. What did you do? I grabbed her arm hard enough to leave marks. What did you touch? Nothing. I swear I didn't touch anything. Clara emerged from the room, her expression grim and drawn. He's stable. We got him back. Oh, thank God, I started, but Clara wasn't finished. But Mia. She looked at Veronica, then back at me. The monitor was unplugged from the wall. Someone unplugged it. That's impossible, Veronica said quickly. I would have noticed. I was right there the whole time. The outlet is behind the bed, Clara said slowly, deliberately. You wouldn't unplug it by accident. Someone would have to reach back there on purpose. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. How long was he? How long before you noticed? The alarm should have triggered immediately at the nurse's station when the signal cut out. We came as soon as we saw it. Maybe 2, 3 minutes tops. Clara's voice cracked. But Mia, he could have died if we'd been even 30 seconds later. I turned to face Veronica. She took a step backward, hands up. I didn't do anything, Mia. You have to believe me. But her eyes, wide and glassy and darting everywhere except at me, told a completely different story. I want to see the security footage, I told the hospital administrator the next morning. My voice came out hoarse from crying all night while I sat beside Trevor's bed, watching him sleep, terrified to look away for even a second. Mrs. Caldwell, I understand you're upset, but the police are already reviewing the footage. They'll conduct a thorough investigation. Police. My husband, Greg, spoke up from beside me. Why would the police need to be involved? It was probably just an accident. An accident? I whirled on him, fury blazing through my exhaustion. Greg, someone had to reach behind the bed and deliberately unplug it. That's not an accident. Maybe a custodian bumped it. Or your sister was the only one in that room. Greg's jaw tightened, his face going hard. Don't even go there, Mia. Veronica would never. Then who? I demanded, my voice rising. Who else was there? After the meeting, I found Clara in the break room pouring herself a cup of coffee with shaking hands. I need you to be honest with me. What did you see on that footage? She looked around nervously, like someone might be listening. I'm not supposed to talk about it. Clara, please. That's my baby up there. She sighed deeply, then pulled me into an empty consultation room and shut the door. The footage shows your sister-in-law standing up about 3 minutes after you left. She walked over to the bed, looked down at Trevor for a moment, then reached behind it. The monitor went dark. She sat back down and was scrolling through her phone when we rushed in. The room seemed to tilt sideways. My vision tunneled. So she did it. The police have the footage. They'll want to interview her today. I found Veronica in the family waiting room, hunched over her phone. She jumped when she saw me standing in the doorway. Mia. How's Trevor? Is he don't? I held up one hand. Don't pretend you care. What are you talking about? Of course I care. He's my nephew. Then why did you unplug his monitor? Her face went completely white, like someone had drained all the blood from her body. I told you I didn't. They have you on camera, Veronica. Walking over to his bed. Reaching behind it. She stood up fast, shaking her head frantically. No, that's not. I was just adjusting his pillow. The cord must have been loose or something. He was asleep. And you reached behind the bed, not toward the pillow. Greg appeared in the doorway, looking confused and worried. What's going on? Your sister tried to kill our son, I said flatly. Mia, that's insane. Veronica's voice cracked. Greg, tell her. Tell her I would never. Then explain the video, I said. Explain why you unplugged his monitor. Explain why you didn't say anything when the alarm should have been screaming. Clara appeared behind Greg, her arms crossed. The outlet is behind a secured panel. You have to push the panel open to access it. It can't be bumped accidentally. Veronica looked between all of us, panic rising in her eyes like floodwater. I made a mistake. Okay? I didn't mean to. You didn't mean to what? I stepped closer. You didn't mean to almost kill him? But he's fine. He's okay. By luck. I shouted. By pure dumb luck that the nurses checked when they did. Greg finally spoke, his voice strained and tight. Ronnie, did you unplug it? Yes or no? She looked at her brother, tears streaming down her cheeks. I just wanted her to see that she was being paranoid. That the monitors weren't that important. That she was hovering too much over him. I was going to plug it back in, I swear. I just wanted to prove a point. A point. I couldn't breathe. What point could possibly be worth my son's life? I didn't think anything would actually happen. Veronica's voice was desperate now, pleading. It was just supposed to be for a minute. 1 minute to show you that you were overreacting about everything. A minute where his heart could have stopped completely, I said coldly. A minute where he could have suffered brain damage. A minute where I could have lost him forever. My friend Diane, who'd been waiting outside, came in and grabbed my arm gently. Come on, Mia. Let the police handle this now. Police. Veronica looked at Greg desperately, reaching for him. Greg, don't let them do this. I'm your sister. And Trevor is my son, Greg said quietly. His face looked ashen hollow. What the hell were you thinking, Ronnie? The police arrived an hour later. Detective Angela Martinez introduced herself and pulled Veronica into a private conference room down the hall. I insisted on being present. Mrs. Caldwell shouldn't be in here, Veronica's lawyer, somehow she'd already managed to call one, protested sharply. I am the victim's mother. I have every right to be here. Detective Martinez nodded once. She can observe. Miss Caldwell, let's go through this step by step. You admit to unplugging the monitor. Veronica wiped at her eyes with a crumpled tissue. I already explained, it was a mistake. I was trying to what? Detective Martinez's voice remained level, professional. Help me understand what you were attempting to accomplish. She's always been so paranoid about Trevor. Hovering constantly, never letting him just be a normal kid. I thought if the monitor was off for just a minute and nothing happened, she'd see that she was being ridiculous. You're a nurse, aren't you? Detective Martinez consulted her notes. Pediatric ICU? Ah yes. Pediatric ICU, but I'm not his nurse. I was just visiting as family. So as a medical professional, you knew the risks of disconnecting a cardiac patient's monitor. Veronica's lawyer touched her arm quickly. Don't answer that. I'll answer it. Veronica snapped. Yes, I knew there were risks, but he'd been stable for days. I didn't think. You didn't think his heart would stop? I interrupted, unable to stay quiet any longer. You didn't think a child with a diagnosed arrhythmia might actually need that monitor? Mia, please, she reached for my hand and I jerked away violently. Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again. I was trying to help you. You've been living in this hospital for weeks. You're destroying yourself, your marriage, everything. I thought if I could just show you. Show me what? My voice was shaking now. That my instincts were wrong? That I was crazy for protecting my sick child? You decided to prove your point by almost killing him. Greg was standing in the corner, arms crossed tightly over his chest. Ronnie, why didn't you just talk to her? To us? I tried. Veronica's voice rose. Every single time I suggested she take a break or go home for a night, she bit my head off. She wouldn't listen to anyone. Because it's my son. I shouted. Not a hypothesis to be tested. Not an experiment. My child's life. I know that. Veronica was crying harder now, mascara running down her face in black streaks. I know, and I'm so sorry. If I could take it back, but you can't. Detective Martinez cut in smoothly. Miss Caldwell, you're being charged with reckless endangerment of a child and assault in the 3rd degree. You'll need to come with me to the station. Assault. Veronica looked genuinely shocked. But he's okay now. He's fine. He coded, I said coldly. His heart stopped beating. They had to do chest compressions on an 8-year-old because you decided to play God with his life. Greg, please. Veronica turned to her brother desperately, tears streaming freely. Don't let them do this. I'm your sister. We're family. Greg's voice came out hollow, broken. Trevor is my family too. And you almost took him away from me. I said I'm sorry. Veronica's voice cracked. What more do you want from me? I want my son to have never turned blue, I said quietly. I want to never have seen doctors doing chest compressions on his little body. I want to not wake up every night in a cold sweat, reliving what could have happened. But since I can't have any of that, I want you to face consequences for what you did. You're really going to press charges? Against family? You stopped being family the second you unplugged that monitor. Veronica stood up suddenly, her chair scraping backward with a harsh sound. Her face contorted with anger, all pretense of remorse vanishing. You know what? Fine. You want to play the victim? Go right ahead. But everyone knows you're obsessed with that kid. Unhealthily obsessed. Maybe this whole thing is for the best. Maybe now you'll finally get some perspective. Perspective. I stood too, facing her across the table. My son's heart stopped. What perspective do I need beyond that? That you're suffocating him. That you're turning him into an anxious wreck. That your fear is ruining his entire childhood. My fear kept him alive, I said through clenched teeth. Your arrogance almost killed him. Detective Martinez stepped between us. Miss Caldwell, you need to come with me now. I want to see Trevor first, Veronica demanded. To say goodbye properly. To explain. No, I said flatly. Absolutely not. Mia, no, Greg echoed, his voice firm. You don't get to go near him again. Ever. As they led her out in handcuffs, Veronica turned back one last time. You'll regret this, Mia. When this family falls apart, when your marriage crumbles, remember that you chose this. You chose to destroy everything. When my son is alive and healthy, I replied steadily, I'll sleep just fine. The days that followed were a blur. Trevor was stable enough to be discharged after another week of monitoring. I set up a home hospital room in what used to be our guest bedroom, complete with backup monitors, an alarm system that alerted my phone, and a baby monitor so I could hear him from anywhere in the house. Yes, I checked on him constantly. Every hour. Sometimes more. I wasn't apologizing for that anymore. Diane came by often, bringing groceries and coffee and just sitting with me while I watched Trevor sleep. How are you holding up? I don't know, I admitted. I keep replaying it. What if Clara had been on break? What if they'd been dealing with another emergency? What if? But they weren't, Diane said firmly. Trevor's okay. He's here. Focus on that. Greg was struggling too. I'd find him standing in Trevor's doorway at 3 in the morning, just watching our son breathe. We started couples counseling to work through his guilt over not seeing who his sister really was, and to help me process the trauma of that day. I should have known, he said one night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling. Looking back, there were signs. Little comments she made about you being overprotective. The way she'd roll her eyes when you'd check on Trevor. I just thought it was typical sister-in-law stuff, you know? Harmless. It's not your fault, I told him. You couldn't have known she'd do something like this. She's my sister, Mia. I grew up with her. How did I miss that she was capable of this? I didn't have an answer for him. The court hearing was 3 weeks later. Trevor was stable enough to be home full-time now, though he still needed continuous monitoring. The backup generators for his equipment cost a fortune, but I didn't care. Nothing was too expensive when it came to keeping him safe. The courtroom was cold and sterile, all wood paneling and fluorescent lights. Veronica sat at the defense table in a gray suit, her hair pulled back, looking nothing like the woman I'd once considered a sister. Mrs. Caldwell, can you describe what you saw when you entered the room that evening? The prosecutor asked me. I'd practiced this testimony 100 times, but my hands still shook as I gripped the witness stand. My son was blue. The medical team was performing chest compressions. The monitor was dark, completely silent. I thought, my voice caught. I thought he was dead. And the defendant's reaction when you arrived? She claimed she didn't know what had happened, but the security footage tells a different story. Veronica's lawyer stood quickly. Objection. The witness is characterizing evidence. Sustained. Stick to what you personally observed, Mrs. Caldwell. I nodded. She looked scared. but not surprised. There's a difference. Clara testified next, walking the jury through the medical details in clear, clinical terms. How long Trevor had been without monitoring. How close we'd come to losing him. How if they'd been even 30 seconds later, we'd be planning a funeral instead of sitting in a courtroom. Greg testified too, his voice breaking when he described seeing his son's lifeless face, the sheer panic and terror that had consumed him. He looked at his sister once during his testimony. She looked away. The defense tried to paint it as a misguided attempt to help, a moment of terrible judgment made with good intentions. They brought in character witnesses who talked about Veronica's 15 years as a pediatric ICU nurse, her dedication to sick children, her love for her nephew. Miss Caldwell, why did you unplug the monitor? Her own lawyer asked gently. I thought Mia needed to see that she was being overprotective. That the constant monitoring was feeding her anxiety instead of helping it. I wanted to help her realize she could relax a little. Veronica's voice was soft, contrite. I truly thought I was doing something good. And you regret your actions? Every single day. Every single moment. If I could go back but you can't, the prosecutor interrupted during cross-examination. You can't unstop Trevor's heart. You can't undo the trauma. You can't erase the what-ifs that his mother lives with now, can you?
No, Veronica whispered.
You're a trained pediatric ICU nurse with 15 years of experience. You knew the risks. Yes. And you did it anyway. Yes. Why? Veronica looked at me for the first time, really looked at me, and something crumbled in her expression. Because I was jealous. Because she has this beautiful son and this life, and I have nothing. No kids. A marriage that's falling apart. A job where I see sick children every day and can't fix any of them. And she had Trevor, and he was going to be okay, and she couldn't even see that because she was too busy worrying. It wasn't fair. The courtroom went completely silent. So you almost killed him because you were jealous. The prosecutor's voice was incredulous. I didn't mean for him to actually. His heart stopped, Miss Caldwell. That's the literal definition of almost killing someone. The judge sentenced Veronica to 2 years in prison and permanent revocation of her nursing license. There was also a restraining order. She couldn't come within 500 feet of Trevor or contact our family in any way. As they led her out of the courtroom, she tried one last time. Mia, please, can we talk? Just for a minute? I need you to understand. I understand perfectly, I said. You put your jealousy and your feelings above my son's life. That's all I need to understand.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. Can't you forgive me? We're family, no, I said firmly. We're not. Not anymore. Greg stood beside me, his hand finding mine and squeezing tight. We'd been going to counseling twice a week, working through his complicated feelings about his sister, working through my trauma from that day, learning how to communicate better and support each other through this nightmare. As we left the courthouse, Diane met us on the steps. How are you both holding up? We're okay, I said. Trevor's okay. That's what matters. Greg nodded slowly, squinting in the bright afternoon sunlight. It's strange. I thought I'd feel worse about Ronnie going to prison. But mostly I just feel relieved. Relieved that she can't hurt Trevor again. Does that make me a terrible person? No, Diane assured him quickly. That makes you a father. Protecting your child comes first. Always. That evening, I sat in the chair beside Trevor's bed, watching the monitors like I did every night. Their steady beep 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 was music to my ears, the most beautiful sound in the world. Mom? Trevor stirred, blinking sleepily at me. Are you okay? I'm perfect, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. Is Aunt Ronnie really not coming back? I stroked his hair gently. No, baby. She's not. Good, he said simply, then closed his eyes and drifted off again. I smiled sadly. Kids understood more than we gave them credit for. They had instincts too. Greg found me there an hour later, bringing me a cup of chamomile tea. You need sleep, Mia. I know. I just need to watch him a little longer. We have the monitors. The backup monitors. The alarm system that alerts both our phones. He's safe. I know. But I still couldn't make myself move. He sat down beside me, his shoulder warm against mine. We're going to be okay. All three of us. Yeah, I agreed, leaning my head against him. We are. Later that night, after Greg had gone to bed and Trevor was sleeping peacefully, I opened my laptop and logged into my support group for parents of children with medical conditions. I'd been a member for 2 years, but had never posted before. Tonight felt different. I typed, "Trust your instincts. Don't let anyone, and I mean anyone, make you feel crazy or overprotective for watching out for your child. And remember, you don't owe anyone access to your kid. Not even family. Your child's safety comes first. Always." Within minutes, the responses started pouring in. "So sorry this happened to you. You're incredibly strong. Thank you for sharing your story. I needed to hear this. This happened to my daughter too. Different situation, but same lesson. Trust your gut." I added one more comment. "What's a boundary you had to set to protect your child? Share your story in the comments below. You might help another parent who needs to hear it." Then I closed the laptop, checked Trevor's monitors one more time, and finally allowed myself to breathe. We'd survived. That was what mattered. And I'd never apologize for being the kind of mother who kept her child alive.